record? Okay, I see.
Yeah, I can. Do you want? I can read. I know
Oh,
I didn't change your.
No, it doesn't matter.
I
can
didn't
read
change.
it.
I haven't been bothering with mind body because we've all been covering each other anyways. To repeat it with reflection upon its meaning is an aid. Here we come to the practice of japa. It is a very powerful technique, and at the same time, it is the easiest, simplest, and the best. Almost every religion advocates the repetition of God's name because all the prophets, sages, and saints experienced and understood its greatness, glory, and power. That's why in the Hindu system, a mystic word or mantra is given to the student to repeat. The meaning of mantra is that which keeps the mind steady and produces the proper effect. Its repetition is called japa. So japa yoga is communion with God through the repetition of holy name. In the Catholic religion, you see the japa of Hail Mary practiced with the aid of the rosary. And in the Greek Orthodox Church, I was surprised to see that japa is their constant practice also. They repeat, Lord Jesus, have mercy on me, continuously. And in Tibetan Tantric Buddhism, japa is a predominant practice. We say it is the easiest because you need not go to a particular place, nor have a particular time for it. It's not somewhere outside you, but always within. Wherever you are, your mantra is with you. To worship a form, you have to have a picture or image and a place to keep it. But in mantra practice, it is always in your heart, the most sacred place, because it is your beloved. And that's why your mantra is to be kept sacred and secret. You don't even reveal it to others, lest you lose the reverence for it. By repeating it constantly, a part of the mind gets linked to that. It is like going down into a tunnel with a life rope tied around the waist, and one end of the rope fixed to a peg outside the tunnel. Whenever there's any danger, you can just shake the rope and get pulled out. In the same way, a part of your mind is tied to God through your mantra, while the other part is engaged in worldly pursuits. You dive deep to get all the pearls you want to gather, name, fame, money, position, friends, anything you want. You need not stay away from anything as long as you do not lose hold of the rope. Sensible climbers see to that first, and even pull it a few times to see whether it is strong enough. Only after making sure do they begin to climb. But alas, many people do not bother about any rope. It is a golden cord between you and God or the cosmic force. Do not bother about the meaning in the beginning. Let the repetition become a constant habit. When it becomes a firm habit, then you can think, what am I repeating? Then you will be able to think of the meaning without forgetting the repetition itself because it has become a habit already. Most things happen by habit in our lives. 12 o'clock means lunch, 6 o'clock dinner. Just by the clock, things have become habits. Because we repeat something so often, it becomes second nature to us. In the same way, God's name can also be mechanically or habitually created in the beginning until finally it absorbs you and you become that. If you repeat war, 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 one day you will be at war. You think monkey, 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 you probably within a week or two will be jumping here and there. Yes, as you think, so you become. Knowingly or unknowingly, you imbibe the qualities of the thing named. That is why the right name has to be selected. Any word could help that keep the mind focused, but some names might lead you into difficulty later on. A holy name which will elevate your mind should be taken as a mantra. For a special benefit, a special mantra is called for, but the basis of them all is Om. Just as cotton is the basis for cloth, which is then cut in different designs according to its purpose, a pillowcase, a bedsheet, a tablecloth, or a napkin. Om is the basic seed. For different purposes, you use different mantras, which are all part and parcel of the original cosmic sound vibration, Om. Jackie got kicked out. You can use the same sound power to bring harm or good. The people who do voodoo and black magic are also using mantric power. So you can make or break, bless or curse with your words. In fact, at no other time has the power of the word been more exhibited than in this century. Politicians get elected by the power of their words. The power of words can be clearly seen in the present day advertisements. Even a worthless product can be made to seem the best by clever words. So the power of the word can be misused also. That is why, even before you handle these words, you should have purity of mind. So in japa, you repeat the word and later on feel the meaning also. So where it says the whole thing about the rope, that's what popped up to me in terms of the importance of our practice, right? Like if we have a strong foundation and we have, when we go to the yamas and then niyamas and really practice that and embrace that and allow that to become our habits and what we live by, values that we follow. In here, it's talking about a mantra, so we can have whatever it is that maybe we struggle with and choose positive words, a positive mantra to follow as a reminder to stay on track, to stay on the right path. Then we can go out and do stuff. And having that rope or our practice or our line or values, I think is something like right now it's easy to say, oh, but things are all, nothing is going the way we're used to, or nothing is moving the way we might think should be, and maybe come up with excuses. But if we have that line and that the values, and we've worked on practicing and creating this habit, then we can keep falling back on that and staying on track, even though everything is not the same and everything seems confusing and extra hard, especially right now. Pam, I don't know if you had anything ready, since you thought that you were going to be reading.
No, I didn't have anything ready. I think this makes sense to me though. Just keep repeating.
I remember when my kids were little, I had like a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, I think. I don't know, they were little. And it was like crazy chaos, constant. And I would like get upset and catch myself about to raise my voice. And it was so hard to like pull back. So I think it was Lent. I don't know. I decided like that was going to be like reminding myself constantly, there's no reason to get to the point where I feel like I have to raise my voice. And it became easier and easier. And it just became a thing where I hardly even had to think about it. And yesterday we were talking about Om and Amanda, and I read something last night about practicing a short exercise. So we'll do it before we start our meditation, about just breaking down Om and really feel where it resonates and where it vibrates as you do the oh, and then it lifts up. And I was reading this whole thing about how Om starts in the chest and then it lifts up to the head. And paying attention to that, it felt really nice to feel that. So the word itself in the way it vibrates in our physical body is actually lifting up. And you're moving from the throat chakra and then going up to the higher chakra, which is our spiritual chakra. So it felt really, really nice. I thought that we could practice that this morning.
Yeah.
Or we've all practice it more mindfully, feeling that.
Well, I think that I was taking another sutra workshop this week, and there was a reminder in it, because in Sutra 117 we spoke about the gunas, and that's the one we took 3 days to break apart, and we spent like a whole day on the gunas. And the sutras, this sutra book, this commentary suggests that we already know what the gunas are, so it doesn't keep coming up. But I think we have to keep remembering that those gunas are there, and so the gunas were the sattvic, rajic, and tamasic.
Yeah.
And just remembering that as you're creating these habits and these memories and these words, that you have these qualities. Like you could have happy 1, happy 2, happy 3. And so if you're creating happy tamasic or happy rajasic, you're going to have 3 different experiences. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So that you're really trying to create that balance at sattvic happy. And so it's even more like you could even create even more work for self here, where you're really creating those impressions, so samskaras, those habits based on that sattvic guna. And so I think that's another important part, because like we could do that exercise and we could be sitting here like feeling really heavy, and then doing this lifting, and then we're going to bring that with our day. But if we can be aware of it before we even start, and we're like try to get ourselves to a more balanced state and then practicing it, that's going to have even more benefits. I don't know, that's what I took from the workshop.
That makes sense. I had a kind of a gut reaction to this, and also to yesterday's, which is that when you chant either internally or externally, or something like Om, it changes you physiologically. I mean, I don't know if Renata's here, but if she were here, she talks so much about working from the body and that kind of thing. It changes your neurophysiological responses, change over time. Your physiological responses, your muscular responses change over time. And I find it such an evening, calming thing. It's one of those things that's definitely worthwhile doing, even if you don't know what the F you're doing.
It's true, Sue.
There also is all the studies that like the sages knew like all these years ago, but now they're coming up with all these studies that music, we're all vibrations. So music automatically changes our vibration. So then you're picking not just a sound, but something that's uplifting. So you already have the sound, the vibrations of whatever sound you're creating. And it's also, in addition to that, if we're talking about Om, it's an uplifting sound.
I think the level of vibration too affects us all individually based on things like we've talked about the leaf blower. That's a sound versus like the sound of the birds. For me, it's 2 totally different vibrations in me. One annoys me and one doesn't. But it's because like I tied a samskara to it and I'm letting it go, where it's like the noise of the leaf blower can just be as magical as the sound of the bird. Or even like the types of music we like to listen to, bringing
right now you have is one activity in here to do, and that is what
I think someone is talking to someone else.
Yeah.
What's really interesting is that and I don't know, Micheline, you might have said this yesterday, I'm not sure who said it, but sometimes you Om at the beginning of a class and then again at the end of the class. And one of the things I've noticed is that very often the Oms at the beginning of the class are weak, shaky, awful, out of tune. It's sort of like you sort of laugh a little. And then at the end of class, all of a sudden, everybody's oming in the same key with the same level of vibration. And it kind of cracks me up, but it's really a wonderful thing. By the end of class, we're all on some even plane somewhere to some degree.
Yeah, I call it like the first Om is just coming from everybody's head and like all the baggage we drag into class.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of concept. Like when you come into class and you just feel crappy and everything just looks gray and gloomy, and then you walk out and it's like, oh, it's a great day. Oh, I don't even know what I came in here with. And it's working through all those layers, and like with the Om at the end of class, that's how like everyone just left her. They're not here anymore, and it's more here. And that beautiful glow and light and energy, whatever you want to call it, that's deep within us. I feel like that's where that last Om comes from.
Yeah.
But even just physiologically, like you were saying, is the breath, and the breath changes the brain.
Yep.
Just on a physical level, the breath changes the brain. And so when you Om, it's a long out breath. And so you're doing some breath control just without even realizing you're doing it. And so if you do it repeatedly, you're doing some breath control. It's like singing. When you sing, you've got a long phrase, you carry it on the breath, for however many beats that you wouldn't do normally as you're talking. It's a different kind of thing than when you're talking. So chanting or Om or repeating, the Om has to do with your breath. And when you've done a whole class and you've been breathing with Ujjayi breath for an hour, that's going to change your brain. And so that, even just on a physiological level, what happens to your brain with takes like 3 long deep breaths to change the activity in the brain from the back of the brain, I can't remember the names, but from the back of the brain back to the executive functioning part. I mean, I teach that to my kindergartners. It's 3 long breaths, and there's been brain studies that show that changes the activity. So when you're feeling, like this, and you want to calm yourself down, you take those 3 long deep breaths from the abdomen, and it actually brings your brain activity back to where you can calmly think. So just think about a whole yoga class and how you've done a whole hour of long, slow, deep breaths. What does that do to your brain? It's amazing. It's just amazing. And so I think that's part of, I'm not trying to discount the energy or God or anything else, but just on a completely physiological level.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
amazing.
It's life-changing.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
It works the other way around too. You know how sometimes and the teacher will say, think about your breath. Don't do anything to it, just think about it. You can't help but do something to it when you think about it.
Right. Just focusing on it.
Yes.
Changes it.
And it changes. And then the other thing is that you don't have to be chanting or oming out loud for it to change you physiologically. It's like you can think about movements and your body changes without you moving your fingers. It's sort of like yoga nidra. When you go through that, you think about something, you're not moving, but it changes.
Where your attention goes. Yeah. Yeah.
So
One thing that I
Long Island Railroad, should we ever be able to take the Long Island Railroad again?
one thing I find interesting listening to everybody as I am is in my own practice, one thing that I found happening was the mala chants, getting involved in the mala chants after the yoga teacher training, and not necessarily knowing what I was saying in the mantra that I was given, but in wanting to start a practice and having never done it, I was doing it in my car, and it was on my way to work, and I was working in Bayville. It was about 30-minute drive, and to do the 108 malas took about maybe 15 to 20 minutes of that drive. But I can say with like honesty that when I didn't do that practice for whatever reason on the drive to work, my cooking was totally different. My day was totally different. When I did the mala trainings, when I did my mantras, I would get into work, I was less stressed. It didn't matter how long my prep list was. It didn't matter what work was on my station, because I was already now in a mindset that I was going to get things done. But what I found the most interesting, and it goes back to what we were saying about singing, was that the practice itself begins to take on a completely different, almost texture, if you will, as the practice continues. I found myself singing song in my mantra without even realizing that I was doing it. And depending upon my day and my mood, it really made a big difference. If I was having a somber day, my tonality was super somber until probably the 100th count. But if I came in happy, if I came in doing it like I was excited already, the song hit me within the first 5, repetitions, and it carried through the whole thing. So it really does make such a huge difference on your mindset, on your physical vibration that you're putting out too. Because when people noticed in the kitchen right away when I was like, they knew, because they could put it on my list, they could tell me what I needed to do, and it got done without any recourse. Otherwise, they could give it to me and I'd sit there and be like, all right, well, I'll get to it, but I'd have to maybe do a mantra or two before I would get it, because I'd get overwhelmed, and it really did act as that rope. It's awesome to hear everybody and be able to make connections. So thank you very much for just inviting me to the group to begin with.
Thank you, Paul.
It's so japa, like if you read, I think it's the Vedas, but how we're supposed to get up early, and that's how you start your day. And that kind of relates exactly to what Paul is saying, right? If you get up in the morning, you're creating this discipline. One, there's a habit. And now, just like we're getting up now to do this meditation and read the sutras, I didn't do it one day and my day was completely like a whole different. So we're creating a habit, and that habit is putting a whole foundation and a whole base to flow over to the rest of the day. What time is it?
I thought that was Kathleen's cat. I was like, wait, she didn't join.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I love it.
Yeah, Kathleen's not here today.
Micheline, I know you want to move on, but I just want to say one thing, if it's okay.
No, we have 5 minutes.
So as I've been practicing and also teaching from home, and one of my biggest issues still now, even today, is oming at home by myself, or either as a student or as a teacher. Either way, I'm by myself, and it's uncomfortable for me because I'm home, and it's like, it's all mental. But I've been offering silent om, and I like that Sue said it doesn't matter even if you don't make the noise. And so I just wanted to offer that, if that's something you have at home. I did om with noise on Monday with class, but even if you're just doing it, you don't feel like making the sound, just go through the motions and do it silently, whether or not you move your lips or just bring your attention to your third eye, and I still get the same benefits from it.
Does anyone else want to share anything? Diane's all smiley. All right, so I also looked at Jafar's sutra, but there's nothing on 128, which is.
So Jafar's book is a workbook. It's not a commentary. So
Okay.
He doesn't have every sutra.
Yeah, it's not every sutra. I'm gonna read this though. It's a poem, I guess we can call it. Yeah, it is a poem. Home sweet home, I arrive at the front door. I step in wonder, I look around, seeing space open and limitless, feeling the earth below my feet, giving me steadiness, sensing the flow of water sustaining this life, hearing the crackling of the fire bringing warmth, smelling the air full of comfort, welcoming ease. I understand I am here in a space of contentment that some call home. I settle into the most comfortable seat and I start to hum a lullaby, the lullaby of my soul. The lullaby begins to lose its harmony and melody, and soon it turns into an eternal hum that I no longer need to do. I only merge with the sound that has always existed all around. I had forgotten. Now, in the comfort of myself, I remember home sweet home. So that's like really sweet and such a like, hello, I'm always here. If we just remember to connect, right? Anyone else? We do have a few minutes. If not, we'll just do extra breath work.
I'll share something if that's okay.
Yes, please do.
So I'm in the teacher training, another organization, and I do meditate, and I've been wanting to find a mantra. So of course I Google all the mantras. I'm listening to Spotify, the songs, and it was interesting in what you read that because I'm trying to find the meaning. I like to really understand what I'm saying, but from what you read, it's really the practice of it that's just as important as the meaning to it. Just like the gentleman who said in his car, he says it. It's really just the practice of it, you know, and the sounds of it, and taking time out each day to repeat it, that is as important. So I thought that was interesting.
So this is a good book to have, even like down the road when you start teaching.
Yeah.
But one of the sutras, I can't remember what sutra it was, and it was a long read, but it kept coming back to the same thing. Practice, 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 practice. I can't remember which one it was, but it was like earlier in the book.
Well, 114 says something like that. Keep practicing.
Oh, is that your favorite?
But also, like Amanda was saying a few days ago that with these Sanskrit words, sometimes it's really hard to translate them. So, and even if you're gonna say this is what it means, that's just one person's translation of it. Like there's even multiple translations of the sutras. So I think listening to it, you're gonna feel the meaning. You're gonna create your own meaning for it too. Because it's really hard to translate those words. Could have one word she said could have like a paragraph of meaning behind it.
That's what I saw.
And it's also like, I feel, and I'm sure most of you do too, like the sutras, when you read it, depending on what's going on, what you're juggling and dealing with in life, each sutra can speak, it still means the same and the root is the same, but it speaks differently in terms of how you're gonna work through it.
And you'll say to yourself sometimes, how did I miss that the last time I read it? But it just wasn't there for you the last time you read it, and because you're in a different place, it speaks to you in a different way or something like that. You know, it's just each time you read it, each time you pick up the book, it means something different to me.
All right, so let's come to a seat. If you're not already, if you feel like laying down today for your meditation, we can do that. We'll just sit up tall for the breath work. So maybe on your bed, on a chair, on the floor, wherever you're comfortable this morning. Just closing the eyes softly. And just let the breath become a little bit longer on the inhale and a little bit longer on the exhale. And then start bringing the awareness to this breath or energy flowing through your body. So feel the breath as you inhale, inhaling from the very base of the spine. The spine lengthens. Exhaling deeply from the crown of the head all the way down to the very, very base of the spine. We'll take 4 more rounds like that. You're inhaling deeply from the base of the spine to the crown of the head, being aware as you expand around the navel area, the rib cage, all the way up to the collarbones. Exhaling deeply from the top of the head all the way down. The chest drops, the rib cage drops, the navel squeezes in and up towards the spine, emptying out completely. Finding 3 more rounds at your own pace. One more deep, deep inhale. On the next exhale, sigh it out through the mouth, let it all go. And we'll close the right nostril. We're gonna take 4 nice long breaths through the left nostril only. And bring your awareness to the left side body from the hip all the way up to the armpit. So inhaling to the left nostril, breathe into that left hip, into the left rib cage. Feel the rib cage as it expands out to the left, all the way up to the top of the left shoulder. Then we're exhaling from the tip of the left shoulder downward. The left side drops completely out to the left hip. Inhaling deeply, left nostril only, expanding to the left side body. Exhaling deeply, left nostril only. We'll take 2 more rounds just like that. When you finish with that last round, finding 3 regular breaths in between. And we'll switch over to the right side. So closing the left nostril. Inhaling deeply through the right nostril, we're moving the breath and energy upward from the hip to that right rib cage. Ribs expand out to the right side, all the way up to the top of the shoulder. Exhaling deeply through the right nostril, releasing from the tip of the right shoulder, right ribs, down through the right hip. 3 more rounds just like that, inhaling deeply. Exhaling deeply. Inhale deep. Exhale. One more full round through that right nostril, right side of the body. And then when done with that side, just release the hands. Finding a couple of regular breaths. And whether you'd like, we'll just practice oming, whether you're doing quietly, internally, or out loud. Just being awareness, bringing this awareness to this movement in space with the vibrations of Om as it lifts up, feeling it around the chest, the throat, and then it moves up to towards the crown of the head. So taking a deep, deep inhale. Finding one more round, and then we'll prepare to settle into our meditation. So if you're ready to drop in, I'll be setting a timer and muting everyone. You can set your own timer if you'd like, or I'll let everyone know. Hopefully we don't get disconnected. We'll be dropping in for 20 minutes. Gently bring the hands to the heart center. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Have a wonderful day, everyone.
You too. Thank you.
See you guys tomorrow.
6:45 tomorrow.
Oh, Corinne, you're still, yeah, tomorrow is 6:45.
Okay, I'll try. Thank you so much. That was beautiful.
I'm
Appreciate it.
glad you joined in. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, bye, guys. I'm going to end the meeting.